Did it do that?
Yes.
It says it's recording.
Yeah, it said it.
All right. So I can go to a window screen, and I don't know if you guys can do that. If you go to your cursor on one of our windows, you get a mute and a little series of little buttons. And if you drop down the little buttons, you can get a series of things that that person can do. And I can include remove or chat or mute. I can do all kinds of stuff. You guys have that option?
We don't have the remove. You're in power.
Oh, yes. Ah, such power.
Ken, what's that you got there?
This is my mahogany forest.
Wow.
I started from seed about 4 years ago.
Whoa.
Wow.
Let's see one of the leaves. Close
What?
up.
You want the leaves? Okay.
Yeah.
Sucker's growing like crazy.
Yes, it
Yeah,
is.
Okay,
11 plants in there.
I see the leaves.
11 plants right here.
I'm not sure if that's a mahogany I have.
I started from seed, from underneath a mahogany tree.
Mine's got real small leaves.
Morning,
These are
Jack.
small, too. These are small.
Yeah,
fine.
I think that looks more like a ficus.
No,
Ken.
No, that's no ficus.
no, it's not a fact. I picked up the seeds and I brought them home and dried them out, and then I planted them, and this is what I got. And it's right on, there was a whole bunch of them. They're great. When they get seeds, pods, they get a big pod, and then they split open when you put them in the garage and dry them out. I had it.
I know
bonsai.
Weigert.
Huh?
I know Weigert sells mahogany.
Do they?
Yeah.
Can you see this up close or not?
I thought a mahogany had a leaf that was similar to a mimosa.
Like a ring.
A what?
Mimosa.
What do they call those when there's multiple leaves on
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Compound
a
leaf.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So all those
Yeah, that's what
leaves I'm
mine
pulling
is.
out of my yard are mahoganies.
What?
All those little weeds I'm pulling out of my yard and throwing away are mahoganies.
I know what they are. They're weeds.
They're weeds. As Rick says, indigenous flora.
Yeah.
Yeah, at some point I'll have to show you my Psyche where I used indigenous flora for ground plants. They are doing really well. The cypress aren't doing so well, but the indigenous flora are doing really well. They're growing.
My cypresses are like almost 3 feet tall from the forest we planted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine's doing that also.
Down.
Can I ask you a question about the cypress? Some of mine, they're not making as many leaves at the top. They're really heavy down at the bottom. If I pull those off, will it come out at the top more?
You can chop them too, don't you think? I chopped mine and it looked good.
Yeah.
I did mine too.
I just chopped about 6 inches of it off.
I'm only doing that after my trunk gets fat. I've got one that was, I think is about 4 feet tall. I'm letting it grow.
Yeah, if you want those trunks to thicken up,
Yeah.
yeah, you've got to let them grow up.
Are your tops still alive, Susan? Or are they green up
Yeah,
there?
they're just kind of spare, you know.
Oh, okay. I'd leave them alone. As long as you got some leaves coming out of them and everything, they just might be a late developer, you know?
Yeah, the bottom has, well, Ivan pulled a couple branches off. Ivan's not there.
Going again.
Yeah, and they came back where he pulled them off. So,
They're still alive then.
yeah, but the top didn't.
Yeah.
Top's not. Oh, well.
Are they planted in the sun?
Yeah, full sun. Well, most full sun. It doesn't get the western, really hot part of the day.
What kind of soil?
It's in bonsai media.
On those shallow
Okay,
pots that you
really,
first put them in?
really have to keep it wet, the soil,
Yeah, I have it in
on
a
those
tray of
cypress.
water, and the water comes right up almost as high as the media.
Yeah. If you're trying to create thicker trunked plants,
Hmm.
I would almost suggest taking them out of those shallow pots, putting them into deeper, bigger pots that have more humus in them,
Hmm.
and, you know, really let them grow crazy. I mean, if you're trying to get thicker trunks, you know, if you
Yeah,
want to,
please, you know.
Can't do that now, though. Has to be in the wintertime, I hear.
okay.
Are you
No,
fertilizing them, Susan?
No.
Fertilize them
Okay.
with like a Miracle Grow
Yeah.
Okay.
at least once a week, because they're sitting in water and there's no nutrients for them at all.
Okay. So Miracle Grow for what? Don't they make several?
Use the regular Miracle Grow, the regular stuff, the 24, 12, 8 or something, whatever it is.
Okay.
Or any kind of fertilizer.
Yeah, any kind of liquid fertilizer, yeah.
Ivan sells some good dry fertilizer, but they've got some organic fertilizer you put in your little tea bags. And I would imagine that's good for them.
Oh, that reminds me, speaking of fertilizer, I got the Bogain. Who's the big, Ken, the Bougainvillea person?
What happened?
I've got a bunch of them.
That would be Rick.
Oh, well, I got a Bougainvillea and I bought the Bogain because last meeting somebody mentioned how great that was. But I'm wondering how you put that into your, you have to put it in one of those little things, those tea strainer things.
Is it granulated?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would sprinkle it on the soil surface and then take a chopstick or something like that and just kind of poke it down.
Okay.
If you leave it on the surface, just be careful watering because they'll float off.
Yeah.
You can fertilize your bogey every 2 months.
2 months. Okay.
Every 2 months?
Uh-huh. I asked the guy that sold the fertilizer to him, and he told me that every 2 months.
Is he talking bonsai?
In the ground.
Bonsai fertilizer. Yep, bonsai fertilizer. I get it at springtime out towards the highway.
This stuff? Bogain, right?
No, I don't get that. I'll show you what I get.
I think that stuff for bougainvillea that's in the ground, I'm thinking. Every 2 months.
In the ground I could see, but not in bonsai soil.
No, I mean, it'll just float right through and drain out.
I buy bonsai fertilizer up Home Depot, and that's what I use. But
this stuff says
I sprinkle it on top.
This says every 4 weeks.
Yeah, that's for ground stuff. But you know, we're not doing ground. I mean, if it's granulated, if it's a slow release fertilizer, then I would sprinkle it on the surface and just poke it down with chopsticks, or just be real careful watering so you don't wash it off.
Yeah,
eventually it'll dissolve and sink in.
I use Osmocote.
Osmocote?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a time release.
Time release.
Yeah, Dynamite's another one that Home Depot sells.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Is that it for bogeys?
Yeah, this is for bogeys. This is 6, 8, 10.
That's what this is. 6, 8, 10.
Is Dynamite?
That's good. That's good. And
but
she told me that I could do this every 2 months.
But Ken, that's for bougainvillea that's in the ground.
And when the pot are in the ground, she knows I bonsai them, so.
Yeah, I would.
Especially.
I would not go along with that.
I use this stuff. I've been using it for 4 or 5 months, and the stuff is incredible.
Yeah.
And how often do you fertilize?
It's not a slow acting. It's finer than a slow acting.
So it's a powder?
How often?
I've been doing the same thing. We buy it from the same place, and I've been doing the same thing every 2 months.
Oh,
The granulars are like Osmocote.
It's similar, but a little bit.
Okay.
so it is a time release?
Yeah, it's time release. I could see every 2 months with a time release.
Yeah. Same here. Yeah, okay.
But like I said, my belief is you still need to use the liquid fertilizer every week or two, because that gives it a quick pick-me-up.
Yeah.
Gave my plant steroids.
Yeah.
No, I looked at the IFSA about those lantanas, Ken, and I read the thing, and they said fertilize the lantana every 2 to 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And I put one in the ground, and it's so unhappy. It's I can't believe it. There is not one bloom on it. It looks pitiful. It looks like it's in depression now. And I mean, I put peat moss in it, and I put cow manure in it, and everything else, and they said that's what happens in Florida. You put them in the ground, and they just won't bloom.
Lantana?
Yeah, lantana. They don't
Well, I
bloom
have
like if you have them in a pot.
I have them left. I have in my yard, and they're blooming like crazy.
Yeah.
So it must depend on the soil, certain soils or whatever.
Yeah,
Kind of
well,
sand around here.
That's all I have is sand.
Did anybody read see the blog I sent around from Bill Valvenis about defoliation?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it
Yes.
sounds like defoliation is for every occasion.
And it sounds like, I mean, there's a lot of reasons for doing it. I didn't realize, how many different reasons and different, process. Of course, he's up there in the north. So for him, defoliating a maple is like a once-a-year project. And, down here, defoliating a ficus is 2 and 3 times a year process.
Is that right?
Huh?
I didn't realize ficus you would defoliate that often.
Yeah, they bounce right back. Right now, they're bouncing back fast. I mean, they're growing crazy right now. I defoliated my big ones, and I sawed off about 1/3 of the roots at the bottom, just right across the bottom. Just sawed it right off. I put it back into the pot and completely defoliated. And about 2 weeks later, they're fully finished out. And the roots are growing down below. I mean, a lot of those little cedar roots, which is what I want, are growing, they're growing well down underneath there at this point. I had to dig one up that I repotted about 2 months ago, a small one, because the new owner that I sold it to didn't want the pot. So he wanted, his own pot. So I had to dig it up and repot it, and it was full of roots. And that was and I planted that, I said, repotted that 2 months ago before everything started growing.
So speaking of defoliating, I was reading about what to do with the crepe myrtle, and it was saying when you get 2 leaves to cut above the second leaf, that's how much to, and I was looking at this one thinking,
Cut it back.
much left if I did that, right?
Right. Not much, but this would pertain to a plant that you're trying to develop a lot of fine twigs. You're not doing that now.
Oh,
You're trying to still grow a trunk.
okay.
So you got to let that long branch grow until it's about half the size of the trunk it's growing out of. And then you can start cutting it back.
Well, you mean half the width?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay, because
You're trying to develop a tapering trunk.
Yeah, it's taller than
Yeah, you just let that grow.
Make
Gonna be
it,
ugly for a while.
Yes, that's what happens with tree bonsai. That's why you go to a bonsai nursery and get that already done,
Hmm.
you know, or you know, go to Ivan and get a dug up Yamadori bonsai.
This is from Ivan.
I know, but I mean, you know, he waits. Yeah, I mean, if you go
Yeah.
and you look at what he's got, you can buy something that he's just dug up like that, or
Okay.
you can buy something he's had 4 or 5 years and have redeveloped their roots and redeveloped, but you're going to pay a lot more for it. So, you know, when you get to a point where you no longer want a bunch of little sticks anymore.
This
and
was in a pot, like
Yeah.
really tightly in a pot. It was already,
It's already growing. Good.
yeah, but it was so jammed that I had to like, it took me 2 days just to get to roots this much.
Okay. So
Yeah.
now you're going to repot it into something that's a little bigger,
With dirt, regular dirt.
or bonsai soil, but perhaps mix some of the dirt into the bonsai soil.
Okay.
So you have like a half and half.
And feed it.
Oh yeah.
And don't let the roots dry out.
Okay. Yeah, I've been misting them as I'm working on it.
Yeah. Or wrap them up in a wet newspaper, some wet newspaper.
Say hi, Ivan.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, now has anybody yet checked out that website from the Shofu Bonsai?
Mm-hmm.
They've got the PowerPoints up, and I was just looking at them this morning, and I would say the Brandt PowerPoint, the art of display, is really good. I mean, it's kind of long, but he has a lot of good pictures, and he talks a lot about, you know, displaying. Now, you know, most of us are not going to do displays, you know, but we go to displays and we see pictures. And it's nice to see a picture of a display and say, yes, that's a good display, or, you know, maybe not, or, you know, it's off balance, or, I mean, there's a lot of things that go into it. And as people who go to conventions and look at pictures, you know, you should know what you're looking at. And I think, you know, for maybe next week, if all of you would check out those PowerPoints and look them over, you know, that could be a good topic of discussion for next week.
Yeah, I did look through all of them, and I realized that I'm more of the, is it the modern kind, where it's a little more relaxed? Because I don't fully understand, even after looking at all those videos or PowerPoints, there were 3 of them.
Yeah. Well, the
I don't
one that the
understand it.
Knowltons produced, which was all blue backgrounds and white letters, they did a lot of talking
Mm-hmm.
that went along with it. A lot of explanations and things like that are not on their PowerPoint.
Yeah, you just get the visual.
Right. But the Brandt one was especially good. The second one, Cystic, something bonsai display piece by piece, was shorter, and it you know, approached the same topics: balance, emotion, seasons. There's a number of topics that they talk about, and yeah, I think this would be a very good topic for discussion. You know, if you would all go to that website. And I sent the website around to you. I'll send it out again, because I think it would be important for you know, people who are interested in bonsai to know this stuff, whether or not you know, put things out for display. Now, I've got a couple of plants I wouldn't mind displaying, but at this point, after these thefts going on, I'm real hesitant.
Yeah.
You know, I think these thieves, they're hitting, you know, people like ourselves that have an unprotected display area, or, where we keep our plants. And they know where the plants are, and they're hitting good ones. These are not amateur thieves. Either that, or somebody is paying them and saying, here, go to this place, and this is the plant I want, and I'll pay you for it. So there's either somebody paying these guys, or these guys are, hitting really good stuff, and they're selling them. They're selling them to somebody.
Remember the one that was stolen from Chauffin?
Yeah.
They said it was $3,500 tree.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, these guys know what they're doing.
Oh, yeah.
They know, and
When
they
We all
know
have
where,
to,
Is that
we all
recent?
have to watch online. For these plants may come up online for sale.
yeah. If they come up online, but they'll be changed. They'll either be pruned differently, they'll be repotted. I mean, it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
It's very hard to tell.
This is Jimmy Reardon's crepe myrtle. This is Jimmy Reardon's crepe myrtle. I'm taking care of it for him. I'm wiggling the branch out here. It's just beautiful. He bought that at the flea market in our club last year. I don't know who sold it, but I wish I'd got it.
Probably Ivan.
Can you see it good?
Can you
we
hold
see the
it up
top?
so I can see the whole thing?
Can you see your picture? There we are. All right, so he'll have something to work on when he gets back.
Oh yeah, it's nice. It's gonna be nice. The
Yeah.
bloom is beautiful, and there's lots of blooms on it coming.
Okay, good.
Isn't that fun?
Good.
Mm-hmm.
This makes it fun.
Yeah, yeah.
I have two thoughts, if I could bring these up quickly. By the way, Ken, this is my mock orange.
Oh really?
I got two of them. They actually arrived this morning. My question is this: they're going to find a home in Florida and be staying there. Mock orange is a very odoriferous, very fragrant jasmine. And unlike some of the others that are very beautiful, but not necessarily fragrant. My question is this: it's in a little 4-inch pot. And today the weather in Rochester is 61 degrees for a high. It's going to, tomorrow is in the 60s again. I think maybe a third day in the 60s, and then it goes back to the 70s and 80s. However, my question is, should I be just leaving this as it is until such time as I get to Florida, and maybe putting it into a slightly larger pot? It's in they call it a 4-inch pot. That's really stretching it. It's about a 3-inch square pot. And I'm just thinking that.
Did it come in that good a shape?
I'm sorry?
Did it come in that good a shape? It looks healthy.
Oh, it very. It came from Logie's in Connecticut.
Okay.
And
Well, that should be fun.
It was incredibly well wrapped. I mean, they really know their business. In any case, what I'm thinking is when I get to Florida, at that point, maybe put it into a 4-inch pot or a 5-inch pot, something like that. I have no intentions of putting it in the ground. The guy takes care of my lawn. He'll be the first one to assassinate it. Anyway, so I'm kind of looking for thoughts as to what I should be doing with the thing between now and then. Whether I should just on nice days put it out, and on not so nice days bring it in, and treat it kind of like indoor plant that I give a fresh breath of air every once in a while.
I think bringing it in and out, is bad for it, I think. If it's not going to go anywhere near frost, which is 40 degrees, I think it should be able to take just putting it out and leaving it out. And if it's in dirt, you could put it in a bigger pot now. You could transplant it anytime.
Put
Really?
it in
That's
about a
my
5-inch
feeling.
clay pot.
And
5-inch clay pot.
I would
And
call the nursery.
what kind of media? Potting soil or Bonsai.
Potting soil. Yeah.
Yeah, I use Miracle Grow potting mix.
Yeah, I pretty much do the same thing. Okay, that's one situation, Sal.
Skip had a suggestion. Skip, did you have a suggestion?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I would get a hold of the nursery where you bought it.
Okay.
Now, especially if they're in Connecticut, they should know. But I'm in Pennsylvania, and we're in the low 70s here. And but our low was 56 degrees, so that's really safe for that plant. You know, I don't know what your low is up there, but
right.
once you start being over 50 degrees here in the north, your plant should be fine outside.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ken had one in Iowa. Wasn't it also a mock orange?
It was I don't know if it's not what was that it? I can't remember.
I thought we did that thing where we took a picture of it.
Yeah. And I took a cutting from it, my daughter's tree, when I was home last week. I took a cutting from it, wrapped it up in a wet towel, stuck it in my bag, and carried it on the airplane. They went right through, and I put it in some soil here, and it's looking good.
You could have threatened the pilot with
with a wet towel. Yeah.
I was on the plane only 2.5 hours, so I wrapped it in paper and the wet towel and stuck it on the top of my suitcase and carried it on.
I have no worries about you getting this thing to root. Mr. Green thumb himself. But I do have a question of Ivan. Wasn't it over near Clewiston that you found a whole bunch of lantana that you were going to harvest?
Ivan, can you hear?
Ivan. I think that's a poster that Ivan has on the.
Yeah.
I don't think that's really him. Anyway, we were talking about lantana in the ground, and I could have sworn that Ivan was talking back maybe a year ago or half a year ago about a whole bunch of lantana being harvested, or that he wanted to go and harvest them, and they were around Clewiston, and those things definitely were in the ground, as far as living or dying in the ground. But he's still showing that poster.
Yeah, he's stuck. The picture changes for Ivan, and then it freezes, and then it changes, and then it freezes.
Well, it speak up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's frozen now. It's frozen.
Yeah.
When I was still snowbirding, I would bring my tropicals back and forth when I first started. And when I would bring them back to Connecticut in the beginning of May, it was too cold to put them outside. So I had to wait until the temperatures, the night temperatures got, above 50 on a regular basis.
Yep.
But once that happened, I would leave them outside all summer long, and then again in the fall, bring them back in again. And then when I came down here in December, I would put all the plants in the car and wrap them all up so they wouldn't freeze in transit. And then I'd had to bring them all into the motel for the night and put them back in the car until I got down here. And these poor plants, they would go up to Connecticut in the spring when they're just starting to grow. And then they'd go in the house, and then it would be cold. And then they would go out, and then they came back in, and then they came back out. Their poor seasons were so messed up. But it kind of worked in a way. But when you bring those trees down to be here, make sure you protect them in transit.
Oh yeah. I was doing that, to be honest with you, but I've really given up on. I've got some quince. I've got some crabapple. I've got 3. Japanese maples, and not much more than that. I've got a couple I've got a couple crab apples, as a matter of fact, but I don't have that many. I probably have 10 plants up here now, and at one time I had about 30. And to be perfectly honest with you, it was a terrible struggle between tumultuous rains and cold nights and warm days the following day. We call it Rochestering out, when you don't know from day to day what the temperature is going to be. It could be a 50 degrees, rainy one day, snow the next. And so I've given up on that. I only really have stuff that's hardy enough to withstand the weather in general.
Yeah. With regard to lantana, I think the lantana plant was originally brought in from Australia to Florida, and it grows like a weed in Florida. My experience was I have one cascading lantana, bonsai, and from the seeds of that, I would have lantana grown everywhere in the yard. I had to pull it out. It was like weeds. The original plant that I got was on a vacant lot right across from my house in Florida. And that thing was huge and bloomed all the time over there. And I dug part of it up, and that became my original bonsai plant. But so for me, the lantana was prolific. You know, it really grew like a weed everywhere. If it, you know, so I don't know what the question was. Will it grow in the ground? And my response is, yeah, it grows everywhere in the ground in Florida, as far as I know.
Yeah, it's considered invasive in Florida.
Yeah.
I thought it was, well, I know you said it was not a native, but I was thinking it was a native. But it's
Becoming
invasive.
a native. It's becoming a native.
Yeah, it's becoming a native. I think it was originally brought in from Australia, along with the Australian pine and
Pines, yeah.
melaleuca.
Yeah, the other invasives.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's see. What else can we talk about?
Can I show my skinny?
Yeah.
I've got this elephant tree, and this was my first bonsai, but I've since taken it out. This little guy.
Uh-huh.
And I was doing it like a literati, but Ivan suggested I put it in dirt to fatten it up, so that's where that one's at. But it had somehow, there was a snake plant next to this, and this thing came up out of the snake plant. This is the elephant tree, but it's real tall and skinny.
That's an elephant on a diet, for sure.
Yeah, and I'm trying to figure out what is the best thing to do with it. I was thinking I wanted to try to get it to look like these. This is the more typical styling of an elephant tree. I've seen this at Weigert's and in lots of pictures. So I don't know if I'm going to ever be able to get that fat. And, you know, is that really the best style for, I just assumed it was the best style, because that's what I see so much of. So I'm looking for input on what's the best thing to do with this thing. What would you do if you had this tall, skinny thing?
If you want to fatten it, you've got to put it in the ground and let it grow.
Put it in the ground.
In a big pot, you know, and just let it grow. Let it grow up at the top. Let it push out all kinds of branches. Just let it grow. Otherwise, it's got to stay forever skinny.
So don't trim it at all.
Don't trim it at all.
Because see this one? See the leaves?
Eventually you will.
I don't know if you can see the leaves on this one. In full sun, the leaves get really tiny and red.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be full sun.
Does the trunk swell? As the trunk gotten any bigger from,
I just put it in this pot like a week ago, so it'd be hard to say.
I would, if you're trying to get it to grow fatter, you've got to let it go. You've got to, put it in a big pot so it gets big
Okay.
roots.
Well,
I mean,
this,
that's called, that's a super pre-bonsai.
yeah, this pot you don't think is big enough?
That pot might be, but you just have to let it grow.
Yeah.
You
You
know,
see, I've
until-
got this other little one. This piece fell off when I was potting or something, and there's
Well, that
no.
elephant tree is a succulent, isn't it?
It is. It's actually, I don't know if it's technically a tree or not, but they do use it for bonsai. So
Do you have extra stuff in the soil for drainage? Like
Ivan's trying to raise
vermiculite
his
and
hand.
stuff, or put some
oh yeah,
bonsai soil in it?
it's a well-drained soil. I had I had this in bonsai soil for a while, but like I say, I was trying to fatten it up, so I put it into dirt.
Yeah, I use the succulent potting mix all the time. The succulent
Okay.
cactus potting mix.
Yeah,
It's from
got a lot
Miracle Grow.
okay.
That's what I use.
But see, when I transferred this from the bonsai situation to this dirt, there were no hair roots at all. There was just the, potato-like thing.
Ivan is trying very hard to get our attention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So go ahead, Ivan. You're frozen again.
Yeah. Time.
Time.
Okay.
Time in the pot. He's thinking. Oh,
I miss hearing from Ivan.
yeah.
It was,
He's the guy with all the information that we're asking each other.
yeah.
Yep.
And he always livens up the meetings.
Yes, he does.
So what's the thing? He doesn't have a good connection?
Yeah, he says it's his computer. He's got a small notebook computer.
Uh-huh.
Uh,
The larger the container, the quicker it will grow. Okay.
there you go. And if you put it outside in the ground, that's a big container.
Yeah, but the ground is so,
Weird. And time.
well, okay.
Time. Yeah,
Okay.
there you are. Okay, Ivan.
But my personal feeling, though, if you put it in too big of a pot, then especially a succulent like that, it'll never dry out, and you're going to rot the roots.
Oh.
So you probably got it in as big a pot now as you really need for a while. That's my feeling, anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's a succulent, you're going to have to, look up information on succulents and, the watering and the feeding and what do you do with those? I know nothing about succulents.
Well, I do have a lot of experience with succulents, even from up north, but, I've never done bonsai, so.
Well,
Yeah.
I think bonsai for succulents is basically just the shaping.
Okay.
That would be my guess.
But this is different than any succulent I've ever had. I mean, I've never had a succulent with a root like that.
Well, I don't know. Ivan still has his time sign up.
All right. Thanks for all your input. I will follow up with that.
Put it in some soil and just
Put it in the sun.
just be glad you got a pot, a potted plant. That's it. After that, see what happens. All right, who's got the dog?
Yeah.
I do.
You do.
George?
Nope. Skip. They
Oh.
have George up there, but
Yeah.
I don't have a dog. No.
No?
No, Victor said it's his dog.
Oh. mm.
Okay, yeah.
Too hot for my dog. She went back inside.
My dog's sleeping.
Is a desert rose, is that a succulent?
Yes.
I thought so, and it has roots,
Yeah.
big roots.
Oh,
Yeah. It's part of the same family as the plumeria.
Yeah, that's a good point, Victor, because I do have a desert rose and it's pretty good. So I'll start treating this like that maybe, huh?
This week we
Right.
got 2.5 inches of rain.
Yeah, but you know what? The desert rose, I used to keep that in a pot that was really too small,
It likes that.
left it outside. Yeah, and it got really fat. I mean, you've seen my desert rose, haven't you? I brought it in to pot it, and it's just huge. Big fat. It's outside, or I'd show you.
If you keep it in a smaller pot, it stops it from growing so fast. If you put it in a larger pot, then they'll grow faster. I have an article from Wisconsin Master Gardeners about desert roses. I'll email it to you, Susan.
Yeah.
It's real good. It's a 4-page article. You wouldn't believe they grow them in Wisconsin, but they do.
I guess I retarded it then.
One of mine, I buried the pot in rocks, or the bottom part of the pot, and a root grew down into the drain hole, plugged the drain hole up, and I almost lost it because it was keeping all the water. I just transplanted it about a month and a half ago, and I thought I lost it, and it came back. It's starting to bloom. I cut it back real good.
Paul, if you would send that article to me as well.
Okay.
I can send it out to the club in general.
Okay, will do.
Because there's quite a few club members who have the desert roses.
Yeah, it's a very good article. Explains a lot of stuff about them.
All right. Okay. I'll send it out.
I realize that I have no control over the water supply when I'm gone, and from what Ken tells me, you have occasional 2 and 3 inches of rain a day. But that being said, during the wintertime, when things are kind of slow going and dry for the most part, at least this winter was pretty dry, I watered my plants every single day, and they were beautiful. They blossomed like nobody's business. So, people saying that you should water them once a week or whatever the case might be. I have an assortment of things that are in large pots that are in potting soil, and I have also some things that are very small, mame or whatever you call it, the really small ones. They're in bonsai soil, and I for the most part think there's a need to water those every single day, because the water just runs right through the stuff and it doesn't retain anything. But it looked like a chorus of flowers on this one bench that I had, and I've been told, on the other hand, especially that nursery over in Punta Gorda, I can't think of the name offhand, but they tell me to hardly ever water the plant. Once a week should be sufficient, so on and so forth. Don't overwater it. It's used to the desert conditions and so on and so forth. And so I guess I'm doing something wrong that turns out right.
Hey, Jay?
I drilled a lot of extra holes in the bottom of my desert rose pots so it would drain better. after that instance.
Well, I don't have them in dishes. None of the plants are in dishes, as far as like clay dishes. I don't know. I mean, I have every vessel imaginable that they're in, and from very small to very large. That one that Paul got from Sue, I've got 2 or 3 that are that size, and I water them every single day, and they're in plain soil or in potting soil.
Okay. Hey, Jack,
Yes.
have you had any opportunity to talk to William Valvanis about the potential tour idea?
I have not had the opportunity for a couple of good reasons. One is that last week he had his, what normally is a show on Memorial Weekend in Rochester. They had to postpone because of the virus. And they had it last weekend, so that was one situation. The other situation is that in the past, you still had to make appointments to go there. The problem is now it's a worse condition because of the virus, because he's staging these appointments, making sure that people don't overlap. He doesn't want people standing 6 feet apart. He doesn't even want them in his yard until the next appointment. So it's been very difficult communicating with him, and once again, his motivation was financial last week. I wasn't about to get in his way.
Yeah. Well,
So the answer is no, but he expressed some interest because he is the ultimate. He's like Ivan. He's the ultimate teacher.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be a real coup for our club.
Yes, it would be.
Yeah, to be one of the few clubs in the country to come up with this idea and to get it to work if he cooperates with it.
Yep, we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, it would be wonderful. And
he has family down here in Florida too. One of his sons lives in Fort Myers, and I think there's another kid that lives in Florida, maybe on the East Coast. But some of his family is down here as well.
And the son is not a member of the Fort Myers Bonsai Club?
Not the least bit of.
Oh, he's going to be disowned. There's no interest whatsoever. Huh?
The apple sometimes rolls a little bit farther away from the tree.
Oh, that's interesting.
No, I'll continue on the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, don't push it too much, but you know, just if that is something that we could work out, that could be real interesting. That could be real interesting indeed. Yeah.
Yep. I will do my best.
Okie doke. All right.
So I am going to leave, guys. Good to see everybody.
Yeah.
Have a good
Same
day.
here.
Take care.
Take care,
Yeah.
Skip.
Yeah.
Bye, Skip.
Bye.
Bye.
See you next week.
Adios.
Yeah, I think our meeting is winding down here.
Okay.
Okay.
Okey-doke.
All right, folks.
Goodbye, Ivan.
We'll keep
Bye, all.
back. Yep.
Bye,
And try and watch those PowerPoints. All right, so we can talk about them next week because it is interesting.
I think that's really a poster of Ivan. I think he's in Miami.
Bob, you haven't said anything.
Nope. All
Bye-bye.
right, folks, I'm going to end it. Okay.
Okay.
See you next
Take
week.
care, everybody.
Yeah.
Bye.